All marriages go through rough times. Now, I've been married 37 years to my first wife, Luella. We both grew up in broken homes where there were addictions and abuse and craziness, all right? In our childhood, we never saw a healthy marriage model. We didn't know what it was, all right? It didn't exist for us. And so when we met and married in our early 20s, we loved each other. But let's be honest, we didn't know what a good marriage was. We'd never seen it. We didn't know. And you only know to do what you know to do. Your only brain what it knows, but it doesn't know what it doesn't know, right? And so we didn't really have the skills or tools to create a healthy relationship. Everybody don't have conflict in your marriage. That's a part of life. What matters is not that you have conflict in your marriage. What matters is how you handle the conflict. It's what you do with it, right? There's some research that suggests that adultery doesn't kill the marriage. What kills the marriage is how they handle the adultery. I think there's some truth in that. That's not to say that adultery isn't bad, because let's not take away from the major betrayal that it is, right? Let's not take away from that. But again, there are many, many, many marriages that have been saved even from adultery, but it's how they handle the crisis. You know, if you don't deal with conflict well, then long term, you become very disillusioned about each other. You become disillusioned about the relationship. You become disillusioned about whether you love this person or not, right? Whether you feel love or don't feel love, or I love him or her, but I'm not in love with him or her. Those are all the things that take place. That's normal. The worst 2 years of my marriage were probably 2004, 2005, into 2006. And I say the worst 2 years because I had a lot of things I needed to work through myself, but our usness had a lot of things to work through that have been building over time. All right. Divorce was never going to be on the table for me. When I got married to her, it literally was till death do us part. I loved her, still do. She's my best friend in the world, still is. And I wasn't willing to sacrifice our usness. Got it? But I didn't know what to do. I didn't have a lot of help. And so in the early years of marriage, for the first 9 years of marriage, I set out to learn the best practices and got teachers and mentors. I studied and I created what my brother called Mark's University. Rather than listen to music in my car, I was listening to personal development tapes on how to grow spiritually strong and tapes on personal development and relationship development. And I started applying those things to my life, you see, and making me a better me. But sometimes in our attempts to make things better, we actually make things worse. We do certain things or we don't do certain things. And by doing certain things or not doing certain things, we're not actually helping the relationship get better. We're actually inadvertently making it worse. And so a lot of couples, when they're struggling, they're trying to do what they know to do to save the marriage. What they don't know is what they're doing, though their motive is actually not a bad thing. Their motive is to save something. They're actually creating more pain and hurt for their partner and for the sense of usness. Fortunately, during that 2.5-year period when Luella and I were really disconnected, we still loved each other. We didn't feel the love much. One thing for sure, to the best of my ability, I tried to live by the principles that I've been teaching all along. In other words, I've always tried to be a person, to the best of my ability, not perfectly, hopefully maturely though. I've tried to be a person who lived by goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy. That in all of my interactions with Luella, my kids, or anyone, am I treating you goodwill? Am I being respectful? Am I caring? That's empathy. Do I have empathy for how you think and feel? Do I care? And lastly, you can't do that without humility. And if I live my life by goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy, at least I'm not causing us harm. I now call those 4 things the 4 protectors of an us. That if I choose to live my life by the 4 protectors, goodwill, respect, humility, and empathy, then at least that if I choose to live my life by the 4 protectors, then at least I'm not harming the relationship more. That's a better way to live life. I may not know what to do different, but at least if I did those 4 things, I'm not creating more problems. We want to talk about the do's and don'ts to save your marriage. I kind of wrote here that we all want to save our marriage at some point, and when the distance seems too great and the hurt and pain is overwhelming, a lot of times because we don't know what to do, or the pain's so great, or the fear so bad, or the anger so bad, we get triggered in this lower order brain, the animal brain, the reptilian brain, the brainstem, or the amygdala, and we're handling conflict from a fight, flight, or freeze response. Whenever we try and solve problems from fight, flight, or freeze, we don't actually create a more loving environment. We create more pain, more hurt, more angst, those kinds of things. Okay. And so we don't want to solve problems from that lower order brain. We need to solve problems from the higher order brain. You know, when I got married till death do us part. Now I'm in it. I grew up with a belief because of my experience in the world. Loyalty and commitment is not a value anymore in our country. People are committed to themselves first and foremost. And because people are committed to themselves first and foremost, the idea of till death do us part doesn't really exist anymore. We say it, but really it's more like till death do us part, and or when I'm no longer fulfilled, or you're not meeting my needs, or I just need to find something better. I told Luella when we first got married jokingly, but I meant it. If you ever leave me, I'm going with you. I don't want that for my life. I don't want to live that way. Separate, divorced, disconnected. I didn't want that for my children. You know, when you just look at thousands of research on families, kids from divorced homes score higher on all kinds of problems and behavior problems. But kids from strong, healthy marriages, strong, healthy families where the marriage is strong, they do well on all social indicators. They're less likely to go to alcohol, drugs, less likely to have emotional problems, less likely to have school problems, et cetera, et cetera. Why would I want to hurt my children? And let's be honest, I didn't want to hurt myself. By living for me rather than us, I hurt myself. All humans need to feel that they have value, that they matter, that we're loved, and that we have a purpose in this world. It was our parents' responsibility to impart that into us as children. And they do that by how they treat you, whether they meet your needs, et cetera, et cetera. Yet, it's also true in our marriage. In all of our marriages, we need to know that our partners value us, that we matter to them, that we're loved and lovable to them, and that our marriage isn't just existing, that our marriage has a purpose, that there's something that we can be doing with our marriage for others. Maybe it's just raising kids. Maybe that your marriage serves a church or volunteers somewhere. Because when it comes to what I call the four questions that all people need answer in life, do I have value? Do I matter? Am I loved? And do I have a purpose? Your marriage can answer those four things in a positive way. Even if you never got it in childhood, I can still impart that into my wife. She can impart that into me in our marriage, day by day, month by month, year after year, just by how we treat each other and how we play out our relationship and solve conflict and communicate so that we don't damage each other and our usness. So then, how you treat each other is crucial as to whether your marriage will make it or not. How you treat each other